I joined in 1978 in the Transkei Defence Force. Of course, that was what was available at the time.
Yes, you were deployed in the DRC. Tell us, how did that come about?
Well, I was I integrated in 1994, grew up the ranks, Lieutenant General. Then I ended up as the Chief of Joint Operations. Then in 2016, then I was nominated for the UN deployment by the government of South Africa. So therefore, I ended up in DRC as a force commander of the UN.
How difficult was that task?
Well, you've got various contingents from all over the world. They are highly trained themselves. They are equipped and ready for the task. So yes, it had its own challenges, but it was doable.
General, maybe if you can tell us about maybe break down the different mandates of the DRC deployment. What exactly did you do there and with who?
Well, when I joined the Monusco in 2016, already the FIB was in place. The FIB was mainly Tanzania, Malawi, South Africa, deployed as a SADC Force, informed by the 2012-2013 incident of M23, which took over Goma. East Africa, when that happened, was of the view that a neutral intervention force should be deployed. But during this discussion, it transpired that Congo was not, or DRC was not happy, hence SADC had to take over. And then SADC then ended up being the lead, at least region, to take over that responsibility. Mainly to deal with all the negative forces, conducting targeted operations against them. And one of those was M23, FDLR, and ADF. Those were the main three, at least negative forces. And the FIB had to fall under the command and control of the United Nations. So the rest of the other forces were also expected to conduct the traditional peacekeeping, which is protection of civilians, and also making sure that the humanitarian assistance or agencies are able to do their task within Congo.
Okay. How hostile was the situation during your stay there as the commander of the peacekeeping mission from the SANDF?
Sorry?
How hostile, how rather fierce was the situation as we see now that South Africa has lost about 14 of its soldiers?
So when I landed there, sorry, the M23 was no longer there in 2016. Okay. So we were dealing mainly with the FDLR, the ADF. Those were the main principal negative forces. Well, it was, again, as I was saying, manageable. Of course, given an opportunity, they would target us. But I would say we were more on the alert and also more ready for them, and therefore it made it difficult for them to target us. Yes, so we were not really suffering many casualties at the time. Yeah, at the time.
South Africa has lost about 14 of its soldiers. How can this be avoided in the near future?
Well, may their soul rest in peace. The issue of losing people is a very difficult one. Well, training speaks to you must train as you fight. And also equipment, you must be at least properly equipped for the mission or the mandate you are going to conduct. And also your commanders must be up to the task in terms of commanding you in that challenging situation. And of course, the kind of equipment must be, in the latest issue, more technologically advanced to be able to deal with the situation. And you need also the political backup in terms of the actual mission, making sure that there is political direction and also there is political engagement right through. It's not only a military part of it.
We are told, General, that all government in the DRC are refusing to engage with the M23. What is your take on that?
I take it when say all governments are refusing to engage, you are talking to the government of DRC?
Yes.
Well, if they are refusing, it's a very sad state of affairs, because at the end of the day, they must go to the table. They must find out from M23 what is it that they want, and then within that, there will be at least negotiations. Then they will find solution only around the table.
Okay, lastly, General, the role of neighboring countries in the situation in the DRC?
DRC is a very complex situation because, like the rest of the continent, the east of boundaries. So the borders were demarcated by somebody somewhere in Europe in the 1880-something. And that divided the communities. And if you go to the purpose of that actual conference in Berlin, it was mainly about the resources in Africa. DRC is well endowed with those resources. And challenge is, in terms of what is found in DRC, that is also of interest to the bigger world, especially the Western world. And therefore, the mining of those minerals speaks volumes. Well, they tend to mine them under conditions which government is not really in control, and therefore for them it means profit, them being those companies coming from the Western world. But those minerals, in terms of the route and transportation, because there is no infrastructure, then somebody must carry them, and that's one of those things are illegal. Then they find themselves in the neighboring countries, mainly in the east. And then you would see, therefore, that from an economic point of view, other people are benefiting out of that arrangement. Well, the question would be, why would the Western world buy things which are not done in a more legal way? And of course, if then the big companies in the mining world and the neighboring countries, means and ways are found of how to do that activity of mining and develop Congo and beneficiate some of those minerals within Congo, then there will be less fighting.